Good evening, my friends. Today, today, yes, it is the Lord's Day. Every day is the Lord's Day. That's the trick, right? Understanding that every day is His. There's not one day that's His more than the other, which Romans 14 explains that. But today, we just need to talk about how no matter how you feel, no matter where you're at in your life, it's like even if you don't feel like it, you know what I mean? You just got to realize that everything is the Lord's and you belong to Him. And there's really, He's good. We know He's good. And even though we struggle with our flesh and the rebellion within ourselves, we got to keep coming back to Him. You know what I mean? And even if we live in sin and fall in sin, we got to keep doing what's like, we got to keep professing Christ, you know, because it'd be better to continue to profess Christ even when we struggle with our sin than it would be to keep our mouth shut and not profess Him. You know what I'm saying? Because we all fall short of the glory of God. Psalm 139 says, "Where shall I go from your spirit, or where shall I flee from your presence? If I ascend up into heaven, you are there. If I make my bed in hell, behold, you are there." No matter where we are in our life, whether good or bad, God's there. You know what I mean? And we have to continue to acknowledge Him in all of those places, in heaven and hell. There's nowhere to escape Him. And the biggest lie that the enemy tries to tell us is that we can ignore Him. You know what I mean? That is the biggest sin of the Israelites and really anyone. God talks about how they put Him behind their back, as if you could ever put God behind your back. It's impossible to put God behind your back. There's nowhere that you can go and ignore God. You can ignore God, but you're not really ignoring Him, because it's kind of foolish to think that you could ignore God because He's everywhere. You know what I mean? Ignoring Him and thinking that you can put Him behind your back and He doesn't see what you're doing is complete foolishness. So there's nowhere to escape from Him. And it's okay, because there's no reason to escape. He's good, and He has good plan for us. Like He says right before this, "You have set me before and behind, and your hand is upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me. It is high. I cannot attain unto it." God has a plan for our lives, no matter how we feel. But what's most important is that instead of trying to flee from His Spirit, or flee from His presence, or escape, dealing with Him, we just realize that we have no choice. No matter how we feel, no matter what we've done, no matter where we've gone, we just continue to come back to Him and acknowledge Him, knowing that He's everywhere and there's no escape from His presence. And by faith and humility, we will get ourselves right, because we know that He's there, He hears, He's good, and He forgives, and there's no escape from His mercy. Amen.